Middlesex moved right into the hunt for qualification in the YB40 with a slightly nervy 4-wicket win over Somerset, secured with 5 balls remaining for the Panthers' 3rd win in a row, in spite of a ton from James Hildreth. Neil Dexter won the toss and inserted, always a risk when the first guys you're bowling to are Marcus Trescothick and Peter Trigo, 2 men who've started off every YB40 innings well this summer. And this day at Lords was no different, as they smacked 73 off the opening 9 overs, in spite of only 7 runs being scored off the first 3. Both men then started to find their range with a number of early sixes being struck. Dexter then took the risk of bringing on spin in the form of Ollie Rayner in the power play overs, and it was one that worked as the bowler found turn to dismiss Trescothick with his 6th delivery. The Somerset captain bowled for a 33-ball 41. Trigo soon followed, edging James Harris to Adam Rossington to depart for 35, the first time the batsman's failed to make at least 50 in any one-day innings this summer. It soon became obvious that spin was the key as Rayner removed Nick Compton next, as he chipped him to Dexter at mid-wicket. He took a fine catch above his head as the struggling England man went for 6. And when Rayner, who ended with figures of 3 for 31 from his 8 overs, also removed Dean Elgar, Dexter with another catch, Somerset were on 121 for 4 midway through the 23rd over. Suddenly, scoring runs became rather difficult, aggressive shots hard to come by, and Somerset next lost Alex Barrow, who offered Paul Stirling a return catch to go for 15, with his side now on 156 for 4, 1 ball into the final 10 overs. To emphasise just how tough it was to score boundaries, Hildreth reached his half-century with only his 2nd 4. It had occupied 72 balls, and a total of around 225 appeared to be the best that Somerset could hope for. They weren't helped any by the loss of Arul Sapaya in the 36th over. He gave David Malan a catch off Tim Murtagh at 187 for 6. Somerset's hero from Sunday was Craig Macheda, who then put Toby Rowland-Jones into the pavilion seats in the next over. But Rowland-Jones got his revenge soon afterwards by having the batsman stumped for a dozen in the penultimate over, which ended with Somerset on 221 for 7. That was really good work from Rossington. But the last over belonged wholeheartedly to Hildreth, who began it on 76 but ended it with 100 to his name. He took advantage of the short boundary on the grandstand side of the ground to hoist Harris for 3 successive sixes. It was a complete change of gear from the batsman, who was in a flash turning a good innings into a brilliant one. It was a magnificent effort which was now taking his side into a position that they could only have dreamt of. And to make it even better, Hildreth used a bit of magic to hit the final ball for 4 to bring up a sensational century off 94 deliveries, Harris going for 26 runs off the last over to take Somerset to a very good 247 for 7 from their 40 overs. So now the Panthers openers had to get off to a quicker start than they might have imagined. The good news for them was that they started with Stirling and Malan, 2 men who'd broken a county record at the weekend when they put on 221 to defeat Leicestershire without losing a single wicket. They began this partnership just as well, Stirling using his power to hit his boundaries while Malan caressed his beautifully. The latter pressed on the accelerator then as he deposited Trigo over his head to take the total to 55 without loss at the end of the first 8 overs of power play. After 10, Middlesex had 70 runs on the board, and then this pair were finally parted as Stirling on 27 slammed a ball from Macheda into the safe hands of Hildreth at mid-off. Malan, though, continued to bat beautifully, passing his 3rd 50 in his last 3 one-day innings. This one had occupied 47 balls and arrived with a typical shot, a delightful cover drive which brought him his 7th 4 to go with his 6. Middlesex's last defeat in this competition was against this opposition, an opposition which started to turn the screw in the middle overs, but Joe Denley then timed Sapaya to strike him over long on for a maximum. That helped the Panthers to 131 for 1 at the halfway stage, leaving them just 117 more to get, and with Malan in and all those wickets in hand, they were now big favourites. Malan continued to impress as he eased into the 90s. But then in the 24th over, Denley rather gifted his wicket away, top-edging a slog sweep off Max Waller to be caught behind for 31, bringing an end to a second wicket partnership of 88 made in 13 and a half overs. Then in the next over, Chris Rogers edged Jamie Overton to be brilliantly held by Trescothick at the second attempt at slip, before the same bowler also removed Rossington. So now the Panthers run 170 for 4, 78 needed off 80 balls, and the rate required was starting to climb. Milan was dropped on 95 but then held on 99 as he drove and edged a wide ball from Macheda to the diving Barrow. The game had turned quickly, and now with 2 new men in, Somerset perhaps had the edge. The batting power play was taken from the 34th over, and Dexter tried to decrease the building pressure in partnership with Gareth Berg. 30 were wanted of the last 4 overs. But Dexter then nailed a full toss over the shorter boundary, and the Panthers were back on their way to recording a very important third successive Yorkshire Bank 40 win. Before they did, Berg chipped via the leading edge off Macheda to Elgar with 19 needed, leaving it to the man who changed the course of this match with the ball earlier, Rayner, to strike the winning boundary at the start of the final over. He was given the Man of the Match award by Sky, one he accepted with modesty. The win by 4 wickets sees Middlesex climb to third place in Group C, just a point behind Somerset, who missed the opportunity to overhaul Gloucestershire at the top of the table with their second defeat in 3. All of the top 3 have played 6 games in a wide open group.